welcome everyone. For those of you who have just joined us from our meeting with Ambassador Suazo from UNITA, you will have seen that we had an excellent discussion with him on the present and the future of UNITA and the role that it plays within the UN system in training UN personnel, in training the Secretary General and his special representatives on various matters, and helping governments essentially understand how they can increase their policy development efforts to align with the sustainable developmental goals. This session is a little more informal. Is a little more informal than that, and it's going to focus especially on some of us who have been previous interns of World Information Transfer, how we got along with the organizations, what we learned from our internships at the UN, and essentially sort of where are we in life now. So it's a little bit of a round robin, this webinar. So I'm very happy that everyone has joined in, and I think the average age of this webinar is also in its mid-20s for the first time this summer. We are joined by Fari Garba, who is joining us from New Zealand at 5 a.m. So thank you, Fari. And also Alex, who's joining us from Spain. Fari, I'm going to kick it off with you.
Sure.
So can you tell the group sort of when your internship started? Which summer did you do, and what were the main sort of geopolitical events taking place at that time? So Dr. Durbak, we just kicked off asking Fari, the year of his internship, the summer that he was working with WIT, and what were the main geopolitical events taking place that he was exposed to that summer at the United Nations?
Besides starting his own non-for-profit, which is also very interesting.
Hi all, thanks for having me on today's webinar, and thanks. It's great to see some familiar faces and some new ones, and I very much look forward to it. And thanks for the question, Apurv. Yeah, I think thinking back now, I think it must have been the summer of 2017. But I feel too old now to remember these sorts. Like it feels like a while ago.
Yes, you're an old man now.
Yeah, it's scary to think that it was that long ago. It felt like just yesterday. But I remember that summer was a whirl because there were so many things going on at the UN. We had the high level political event. We had a couple of other sessions that we had access to via World Information Transfer. I'm just trying to recollect what the major themes were. I remember that the tensions with Iran were starting to kick off, and I remember the Security Council used to be the place to be, to sort of hear what was going on, and just what, because up until that point, I think in the past 2 decades, yes, there have been tensions, but they haven't been so stark and apparent, whereas things have really become quite clear, and that was something that I think as interns were struck by when we first attended the UN seminars and events, was simply sort of how apparent these tensions and relationships between countries were. So I remember the Iran nuclear deal was always a topic of conversation. I remember that at that point there was a new annexion of some land in Palestine that was in that like Levant area, which was of topic of concern. And other than that, I remember I remember a lot of different events that sort of overloaded my experience to some extent.
Yeah, I can imagine. I remember, if I look back to my internship, and my internship was way before yours. It was 2 years before 2013, so in 2015 summer. And I remember that summer.
2015 and 2016, and Fari was 2017. And I have pictures of all of us in, I really should send them to you.
The Delegates Lounge.
In the Delegates Lounge, yes.
Yeah, so those of you who are joining, if you remember, the second floor of the UN headquarters in New York has a special place called the Delegates Lounge, which is only accessible to representatives of government. And obviously us interns were unable to go there, but we would always manage to sneak in with Dr. Durbak, who had the access pass to the delegates lounge. And many say that that's exactly where real diplomacy is discussed and real policies are formed, behind closed doors and, you know, away from the meetings where representatives actually just come and take the positions, but the positions are decided in the delegates lounge. Which
well, actually, you never snuck in because you could come with me without sneaking in. The fact that some of you sneaked in afterwards with other people, that was it. But you never had to sneak in with me.
Yeah, I've snuck in myself a couple of times. I'm sure, Farry, you
did.
have.
But then you met a lot of people that took you with them, right?
There was definitely a security door that wasn't watched most of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. There was definitely a security guard that I used to buy coffee for as well, and just managed to sneak in every now and then. But going back to my internship, I remember in 2015 and 2016, those were two very dynamic years. In Feb 2014, Russia had invaded Crimea. And in 2015, it was the major hot topic being discussed. I still remember it was a Saturday when Russia had shot down a passenger plane, a Ukrainian passenger plane, just over Iran as it was flying. And Security Council was called into emergency meeting. Ambassador Yuri Sergeyev was still at the permanent mission of Ukraine to the United Nations. And it was a very dynamic time as global events were changing nature, face, picture every week. The UN Security Council was extremely active, curbing Russia's invasion into Ukraine, deciding the future of Crimea, China siding with Russia on many of the resolutions, Russians getting up at Security Council meetings and just pretending as though nothing out of the blue has been taking place. Ukraine was put in a very precarious position where Russia had actually been using the price of gas and energy supply as a political weapon. So I remember writing everything I possibly can about Russia's place in the world, and how those events actually reduced their stature in terms of global diplomacy, and it was a very fascinating time to be an intern at the UN.
I agree with you. It was a very, very difficult time, especially for people in Ukraine.
Yeah. We have Modu, who's just joined us. Hi, Modu.
Hi, all. How are you?
Hello,
how are you doing?
It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you all too.
We just discussing, Farry and I were just in conversation about what global events were taking place while we were interns at the UN. I remember in 2015, I was just talking about it, that Russia had invaded Crimea. Yeah. And that was the major geopolitical event that was taking during Farry's time. The tensions with Iran had just been picking up.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm wondering if there's any time at the UN you felt, I know you were an administrator at WIT for the longest time and you oversaw many of our internship cohorts.
Yeah.
But was there a time when you especially found the UN extremely busy and you know, extremely tense as an environment? And I'm not counting the annual conferences that
the GA, the UN GA, that's always busy. I would say that there are two other really busy times that are super interesting. And one will be the CSW, the annual Commission for the Status of Women in March. Those are quite interesting to be in. I was usually the only man in most of the meetings, myself or a few other very brave gentlemen who stayed. I don't know why all the other men left. I thought they should stay and learn a little bit. There were also meetings on indigenous peoples that were really interesting. You had folks that were coming from different parts of the world. I think New Zealand as well. that were quite, those times were very interesting. Another interesting time was when New Zealand was running to be a member of the Security Council. Their rugby team, the All Blacks, were there for, I think, for a whole month in the summer. They had events every day. I guess they won a few championships, so that was a big draw for many people. They ended up going in, of course, being voted in, but that was a very interesting time. And one really tense time I remember is, I don't remember the name of this event, but a plane was brought down in Ukraine or Russia.
That's correct. That was during my internship when Russia shot down a Ukrainian passenger plane just over Iran.
Absolutely.
In 2015. I remember that was a Saturday.
That was an
and we thought we had a day off. And
yeah. And then I think we received a few emails from Dr. Durbak requesting our presence at the Security Council. UN. We had to take notes for Ukraine and assist them at that time. That was very interesting, just to see the process of what happens when something like that occurs.
Yeah.
It was very interesting to be there, because then every single, when you go home afterwards, every single TV channel was directed towards the Security Council and the procedures at that point.
Yeah, no, I remember. And it was an emergency Security Council meeting, which I don't think a lot of people can say they've attended in their lifetime.
I know, it was quite interesting. And I think also at that point, the passes that we were, so lucky to get, you could even go in on the weekends during emergency meetings and,
Correct.
So.
I think that's, Modi, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's funny that you sort of watch news unfold in front of you before it gets on TV.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Yeah, I think that's exactly. And I just feel like, looking back now, how privileged were we to be in a situation where we were at the epicenter of global diplomacy, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like the Super Bowl of global diplomacy playing right out in front of your faces. And we were college students back then.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, just literally finding our place in the world and figuring
your
out
voice
exactly.
as well,
Yeah, or my
finding
voice
your place,
has changed.
your voice, and just like finding your voice as a person, and what area you fit in various conversations, as well as where you want your career track to move forward. It just allowed you to know the different possibilities. Like you were saying, just being part of such big events like the Sustainable Development Goals, watching it from the Open Working Group and various countries, as well as different NGOs and missions having their inputs in what the goals will be, and seeing the end results, and now reading different documents of the SDGs and the process on how countries and companies are implementing the SDGs, and realizing that we were there from the beginning process to what it is now. Very interesting.
And I would, beyond the internship, because being at the UN and attending all of these meetings and writing up all these summaries was the objective and the task, right? That was the internship. But beyond that, I would say we really had exposure to experiences and to people beyond any other internship taking place at the UN, through the Speaker Series that was organized by World Information Transfer and Dr. Durbak. And for those of you on the call who haven't seen sort of, WIT's Speaker Series documents, it's essentially a summation and collation of a bunch of experts and speakers and ambassadors playing critical roles within the UN system, who would take out 1 hour of their time to speak with us interns on a one-to-one basis. Generally these people are extremely busy, and they're only addressing large gatherings in their manner of optimizing their own time. But they always took out time for a much more younger generation to be part of that discussion. And I remember many a times we only used to be sort of, just the 14, 15 of us with these individuals having very candid conversations for 1 hour, trying to understand exactly, the pressures that they face in their roles and what they're trying to achieve in their positions. Is there any specific speaker that comes to mind that really resonated with you guys as you are interns? And I should say we actually have two of them on this call right now. I know Mariam has spoken to us once when she used to be the position at the Security Council at the UN. And
oh, good. Well, you cannot speak. You can talk about your experiences in dealing with our interns.
Oh, I didn't want to. I was more interested in them, but I'll give a soundbite easily. So, this has been fun for me, and I've been doing this for a very long time, thanks to Dr. Durbak, and coming into. Well, sometimes we'd go to the UN, and sometimes the coach we'd go over on Park Avenue, and so for many years I've had this privilege, and once in a while some of the students are from Rutgers, and that's always very nice. Some of you I keep in touch with, and that's also quite good. I think it's I'm always impressed with the level of energy that you all show, and the maturity and the intellect and the insight, and I think that it's just. As several of you just said, the opportunities that you've had are so exceptional. And I don't want you to think for a moment I'm pandering or speaking down to you in any way. This is very sincere. I think you've had some experiences that most of your peers, most of your colleagues won't have even when they get to be my age. So this is a really exciting thing. And as Dr. Durbak knows, my own daughter was also a WIT intern, and she also speaks about what a valuable experience that was. And it is also Dr. Durbak wrote her a letter for graduate school. So, the experience you gain, the contacts you make, the exposure that you have that your colleagues aren't going to have, really is just a special occasion. And as Dr. Durbak said, and I reinforce, the other thing is that you have a lot more responsibility. As a college professor, I have literally dozens and dozens of students that apply for all sorts of internships. And I have to tell you, and I know firsthand because I watched what Christina did and all of you did, you have a real internship. You actually do something. You are asked to listen and synthesize and prepare things, as opposed to, sometimes student internships become, how to operate a Xerox machine with enormous efficiency, and how to staple and how to sort mail. That's not what you do.
That's not my idea of an internship.
Right. Dr. Durbak makes it a meaningful, thoughtful, and insightful kind of thing. So I'm very proud of all of you, and you've done well. And also, I think you should be proud of yourselves. I know you are. And the fact that half of you are students from the US and the other half are often students from around the world, I think that kind of interaction is also really exciting. We'll have to see how we do it in the era of COVID, but up to this point, it's been, for you, I think, a great experience, and for me, an honor to get to meet most of you. So that's my little 2 cents.
Thank you, Mark. Well, you should have told Christine that she could have been on this webinar and talk about her experience.
That's true. I should have done that. Next year. This is a nice idea. I'm glad you did this. This is really quite sweet.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll do another one. Sure. Actually, I'm still waiting for a couple to join. But the time difference in China is so different. This is the problem.
So we have a few students that have joined that are actually interested to put in their contributions or to
definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I think Janet Lee.
Oh, great! Terrific.
Adeline Park. If you're ready, you can tell us about your
experience. Please feel free to switch on your video, unmute yourself, and share your experience of being a WIT intern. Hi, Janet. We can see you.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see everyone again. I've met a couple of you already. Hope everyone is safe.
I'm glad you were able to make it.
Oh, yeah. Sorry I'm late. I came in from a meeting. So, okay. Yeah, but glad to see everyone safe. My personal experience, I think I'm a bit different from everyone else because I had the opportunity to not only intern during the summer, but also during the school year when I was in uni. Yeah. And it's definitely, I think, not to sound very cheesy or corny, but it's definitely life-changing, I think, the skills that you earn when you're an intern, because it goes beyond just like the intellect that you learn, right? From different terms about sustainability at the United Nations, and like beyond everything, you learn people skills, which I think was what I got the most
Yes.
From the UN,
Yes.
like is how to be professional in a setting and how to assert yourself despite maybe, you know, being a college student, asserting yourself and also being respectful. Yeah, speaking out, being respectful about it and making those connections. I think Mark already spoke about it, but that is, I think, one of the most important things I learned while being an intern. And I had the opportunity to work with you, Dr. Durbak, on the conference about sustainability that we host.
Yes.
I think it's in the spring, right? Or
yes, it was. Yeah. It was in April 26th or 24th that day.
Right. And, you know, being in a position of, I think, communicating, being the communicator between the panel and the ambassador was something that I never expected. That was an interesting experience, always a fun fact I like to say in my
So Janet, share with us now, where are you? What are you working as? What do you do? Where in life are you? And how has that experience sort of, you know, helped you shape the individual you are today?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm actually working at BNP Paribas, which is a French investment bank in the New York branch. So right now I'm located in the Upper West Side. And I think it's actually really helped me in ways that I never imagined, because honestly, like, sustainability is the future. Like, it is one of the global problems that's attacking like everyone, no matter what you are, right? It's literally impacting everyone. And so I think in a lot of my conversations I've had with, whether that's, you know, vice presidents from the company, or anyone really, it's really important to look towards the future of something. And so in learning about sustainability and these goals, and Agenda 2030, when I was an intern at least, it's really impacted the way that I look at work and look at communicating with people, and also looking towards the future of something, which I found that employers really appreciate, is that you look at the sustainability aspect and how our impact as a company impacts the world globally, which kind of plays into like CSR and stuff like that. But definitely, like, the sustainability aspect, surprisingly, has really impacted, I think, my job search, as well as, once again, like, not to sound like a broken record, but the people skills are honestly the best skills you get from this internship, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it gives you an opportunity to meet many different people, not only from the UN, but all the professionals that you met, that give you an ability to communicate at various different levels, which I think is very, very important for young people.
Yeah, definitely.
Just to dovetail onto what Janet just said, I think it's yeah, you're absolutely right, Janet. People skills are invaluable, but I also found that when I arrived at WIT, I had a one-track mind of what I thought I wanted to do and what I thought I was interested in. I mean, I'm sure Dr. Durbak and Apurv and Fred are laughing here, but I think that was the case. And when I arrived, I came to a room of people as passionate as, or more passionate than I was, about international relations and the political agenda, but from different perspectives and with different interests. And I think when I left 8 weeks later, I was somehow able to converse, as Dr. Durbak just said, at different levels, but also on different topics with different people that I was now comfortable and aware of the implications. And I think a lot of the experiences there actually guided me to what I'm now doing in terms of, I think I remember an event at the High Level Political Forum that was sort of obscure, but one of the other interns found it and took me along, and I absolutely loved the topic. It was about transportation and aerial mobility, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. I never would have thought this exists, and that's sort of how I pursued what I'm doing now. And so I think. So
what are you doing now, Fred? Share with the group.
Yeah, so I'm currently working a lot in sort of sustainable last mile delivery services. So trying to make a lot of the companies that would ship or deliver packages to consumers or businesses, to make that last mile more sustainable and transforming their operations to green solutions like drone delivery or electric cars or electric bikes. and making these solutions feasible. And
Are
that's
you
something
working
that
with Amazon? Are you working with? Yeah, I thought so. Because he has so much money, he can definitely start that out. I mean, this budget is.
but in many
other people that work with him.
but in many ways, I found my interest there at the High Level Political Forum, and so I think that's
very
sort of
exciting. Yeah,
I think the internship really gave me, at least, and I'm sure the other interns, the opportunity to explore.
Yes,
no, I think
both the
definitely
political and the engineering part, and your brain seems to function well with both.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at this group now, and I'm just realizing how diverse the experience has been for many people. You know, I mean, Janet spoke more about sort of developing those interpersonal skills and you know, fine-tuning her professional skills that is now you know, with her at BNP Paribas. How Fari's really found his calling through sort of focusing on sustainability and transportation. You know, at an event at the High Level Political Forum, I remember when I joined as an intern, I was very much focused on, you know, sort of the high level diplomacy and how public policy is formed, and the more sort of, you know, political sort of mechanisms at play. And later on, I started attending, I just found myself naturally gravitating to more and more sort of private sector financing, and, you know, the role of money in solving some of these problems, and you know, how can we unlock capital for development. And I tested that in my first internship at WIT in 2015, went back for seconds in 2016, and really sort of, you know, tried to understand that landscape as much as I could. And that's something that I currently work in. So I work at Accenture's London office. Accenture is a global consultancy. My clients are actually the United Nations themselves, and we essentially help them understand what kind of public-private partnership projects they can partake in on various aspects and thematic issues of the UN SDGs. Along with that, on the flip side, we're also helping companies sort of embed the sustainable developmental goals across their operations and unlock more capital for sustainability projects. So it really does lay the foundations of what you might end up doing later on in your life after university, after you've graduated. And, you know, as everyone can attest, work fills a large part of our life. And it's really important that we take the time to understand sort of what exactly you want to do, and where you can add more value. And WIT really helps you find that passion.
Apurv, your story is actually very interesting, because you were at WIT 1 week, and a week later you were at the De Silva office.
That's true.
Do you want to also talk about that process? That was quite interesting, that you were, you know, in there at an actual New York City private sector firm, working with them, with all the organizations that they've been working with. How cool was that?
Exactly. Yeah, I think by the end of my second summer, I was just quite crystallized and so determined to be working sort of, you know, in the private sector, and trying to make sure that sustainability is something that's not just elusive or a nice to have in the private sector. And I felt that I needed to understand it more. Till now, I had only had internship and experiences in the public sector. For 2 summers, I had worked for World Information Transfer at the UN. 1 summer, I had worked for the Foreign Office of my government in New Delhi. And I wanted sort of, you know, another side and another skill that I knew would be useful in a job that I could do in the private sector later on. And I worked at De Silva and Phillips, which is a private investment bank located in the offices where World Information Transfers is located, specifically working on mergers and acquisitions. It wasn't specifically anything to do with sustainability, I would say, but it did lay the foundations very strongly of the language that the private sector speaks in, of the processes and you know, the financing mechanisms that govern the corporate world. And that, coupled with the knowledge of sustainability and international diplomacy that I learned through WIT, sort of into the job that I currently do. who manage Accenture's entire relationship with the United Nations. We've been at it for almost 3 years now. It's a really fascinating project that Accenture does. We essentially help them understand the role that the private sector can play in forwarding and progressing their own mandate. And the private sector is no sector that's just on the sidelines. They're equally active in their responsibility. They have a responsibility towards their people who are millions of employees globally, many of who continue to live under poverty, face the same issues that many citizens around the world face. So it's not just that. It's wrong to think that sustainability and the UN Sustainable Developmental Goals are something just for governments to progress. No, I think everyone has an equal responsibility, including the private sector, or sometimes people who are most benefiting from such kind of economic structures.
Oh, there you are. I'm glad you could make it.
Thank you. Hi, Dr. Durbak. Hi. I might, it's all new. I might be the latest interns. I was an intern this year in the winter. I started January. And my name is Edelyn, and I plan to get back to New York to extend my internship, but due to the pandemic, I cannot head back. During my internship, I focus more global health and the science rather than other meetings. I can remember the International Women's Science meeting and GA meeting and COE medical support meeting, which is more than 30 countries delegate participate with the SEPR, and they go through all the secretary issue paper. And I felt so lucky because they have a meeting each of 3 years. So it was pretty good for me, because since I'm interested in science. And also I have an opportunity to individual meeting with Korean ambassador and other UN staff from Korea. And that experience motivated me a lot. Also give me opportunity to explore, learn about the professional and interpersonal skills. And after the COE support, it was hosted by IVI, International Vaccine Institutes. So during the summers, I happened to Korea, which is my home country, and I was a summer intern over there. And I think it was really good opportunity. Rather than that, I also participate with the Speaker Series hosted by WIT, and I think it was really helpful to give me lots of big perspective to learn about that. And yeah, and I think it's a really good opportunity, not only just learn about the SGDS or learn about the UN stuff, also learn about the professionalism, like how to make a connections with people from diverse background for me.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing with us, Edelyn. And we hope that this entire pandemic situation sort of finishes faster so you can get back to the course of your internship in New York.
Can I just ask Modu? I wanted to hear more about what you're currently doing and how you took what you did after World Information Transfer.
So I was an undergrad student during my internship. So I graduate my undergrad this May, and then I head back to Korea. As I said, I was an intern at International Vaccine Institute just a month, and then I start my master's degree at Brown University in this fall.
Nice.
Excellent. Congratulations. And Modu, what about you? Do you want to share with the group where you're at currently and what you're up to?
Yeah, I'll just do a little backstory. So like Ferris said earlier, what happens is you come into WIT with an idea of what you want to do, and you end up doing something completely different. When I first started, I just graduated with my undergrad, and I wanted to work in peace and security. So I connected with a committer who connected me with Dr. Durbak and Dr. Strauss. And after the interview, they accepted me into the program. And I think by the time, 6 years later, 6 to 7 years later, after what was supposed to be about 3 to 6 months, I decided that I wanted to work more in sustainability and sustainability management. Halfway while I was at WIT, I enrolled at Columbia University Sustainability Management Program, and which is where I met Fred. And SUMA, yes, Sumasa. Sumasa is the student association. Yeah, you always make fun of me for that. But yeah, it's SUMA. So, which is a sustainability management program. If any of you are interested in learning more about it, feel free to connect with me. And I'll try to connect you with the administrators. It's a really good program that delves into how to implement sustainability programs and sustainability policies in general. And after I graduated, I was recruited by ICF. And before I actually joined ICF, I was on a call with Apurv, and we talked for about an hour, because at that point he had been working for Accenture for a while. So I just asked him, what's the difference between working for an NGO and working for a consulting firm, and he gave me the lay down of every single thing you really need. So I was very much prepared for the internship, which is another value of WIT, giving you that network that you can reach out to and talk to, when you need assistance in joining different companies or learning about different companies, because we do end up working in similar worlds, but also a bit different. So now for ICF, I work in the transportation team, and I help on a project with the New York State Department of Transportation. And we assist major employers and municipalities launch sustainable transportation programs in the state. So I somewhat it's close to what you do, Ferris, in a bit, but my job is relating to, for us, my last mile for day-to-day commuters. So, how do you help launch bike sharing programs? So when someone gets off the train, they can bike to work instead of having a car take them to work. Can you also launch shuttle programs that can actually, take them to where they need to go to? And then how do you then calculate the emissions? So when they put out, employers, colleges, municipalities, whatever the case may be, when they put out their sustainability reports, they can actually measure that, that difference and emission savings. So yeah, that's a bit of a synopsis.
That's very interesting.
That's incredible. I know we had Ariel join in as well. Ariel, feel free to sort of, join the meeting and share your experience.
Hi, Ariel.
Yeah, that would be nice.
And we also have Woo Hyung Chuang from Hong Kong. He might want to participate.
Oh, great. Terrific.
Oh, brilliant. Should we start with Ariel first? Ariel, so we're just having a bit of a round robin, asking everyone.
My first internship, I did 2 years with WIT as an intern. My first one, I was in high school. And it was actually such a crazy experience. Modu was my admin, my leader at the time for the first one. And I was with so many bright, just like amazing people. And I think that my internship is what got me into really international relations and like my path later in life, which was then creating like a psychosocial model and my thesis for the Rohingya refugees, which was like just all of it sprung from this internship. So learning about the inner workings of the United Nations to understanding like private diplomacy to public advocacy, all of those different things, it was just so eye-opening. And then getting to go back again a second time, I think really solidified like my path in life, which is that like WIT is probably the most wholesome and amazing organization that like I have been a part of and that I still get to be a part of as much as possible. Unfortunately, like I was supposed to go to Bangladesh for really 2, 3, 4 months in March, and that all got like cut off because of the coronavirus. But these type of like calls that we have and the information that we're still spreading is still like so empowering. So yeah.
That's incredible. And you're out of university now, or are you?
Yeah, I graduated this year. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, Tufts.
Brown, I did do a fellowship with, so that's why.
Okay. So that's what I remember.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Dr. Durbak is the most incredible mentor and inspirational woman that I still know in my life. Like, I cannot compare anyone to Dr. Durbak still. She has, yeah, Dr. Durbak is the most incredible mentor and inspirational woman that I still know in my life. Like, I cannot compare anyone to Dr. Durbak still. She has led and continues to lead the way in so many different innovations for young minds and for hopefully growing, changing minds that are older. So it's just inspirational. Thank you, Dr. Durbak.
You're welcome. You're most welcome.
I think,
yes, I'd love to help young people make a goal that is good for them and good for others.
Exactly.
I think similar to what Ariel just said.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What's funny is that we've all had this experience. We've arrived at WIT and we've sort of been inspired and changed courses and learned a lot more. But I think what's funny about WIT is that it continues to teach you as you progress, both through the program and after the program. I'm sure we all relate that we're still very much connected to WIT, and we continue to learn new ideas and hear new projects that WIT's setting off and continue to be a part of the program. And it's an internship that keeps on giving in a way.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. That's why I like to connect with old interns, the ones that have been with me for 10, 20 years, besides the younger ones, and see where they are. It's really amazing to what extent the depth of having the opportunity of being at the UN, meeting all these people, not meeting some of them, learning how to talk, learning how to be able to express yourself and to share your ideas, how it really opens up and broadens the minds of young people, intelligent young people. But then, I'm very selective.
Dr. Durbak, I have a question for you and maybe for Fred as well. What's the UN like nowadays with with COVID-19, and where do you see it in terms of the next sort of 5-6 months? Are we going to get back to normal sometime at the UN, or are we going to stay? It's going to remain quiet.
Personal opinion, I think it's going to stay longer than we expected, and that's because the pandemic is really completely not controlled. And well, I'm sure that you read the news of what's going on in New York and what happened on with the resurgence of it. But most important, I think, is that it has helped expand the ability of people that use the computer and know how to use the computer, how they can communicate, share their ideas no matter where they are. I mean, when Apurv proposed, it was his idea to have these Zoom meetings.
So these meetings are great. I joined the one with, I think her name is Carol.
Yes.
And I just felt like I had to go outside and do something.
You see, Carol and Anna, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
It was incredible. I was just like, well, what did I mean? I feel like I'm doing things already. I was like, wait, what more can I do?
Which goal did you pick? Which goal? She says, pick a goal and go after. So
no, I mean, 13 has always been my goal, which is climate, as well as I now work in a few areas, but partnership is also one, which is 17. But no, absolutely. I think these meetings are incredible. And I hope you guys are not only doing it for the summer, and I hope it really continues with various speakers in different industries and how they can really assist people. Because that meeting itself, just listening to her story, how she got where she is, and how to really get governments to talk to, the private sector and the linkage between them, right? It was really an incredible meeting, and part of it was also just motivating. It felt like a motivational speaker. Listen to a motivational speaker for an hour, but also there was a lot of substance on achieving sustainability for governments as well. So yeah.
Well, you see the kind of her ability to present and project what she felt and what she experienced is something that each one of you have the opportunity to learn at the UN.
Yeah.
Because that's where you have the opportunity to basically express what you are interested in, let your mind go and continue on in the direction that will fulfill your goals, your understanding, and of course, your success.
I want to turn the spotlight on someone who's a current intern right now, working
Oh
with
yes,
this
I was going to ask
very,
you.
very
Alex is
hard. And
wonderful.
Alex has been putting together all of the hard work back and in making all of these virtual voices series possible. So thank you so much, Alex. You know, I mean, he's joined the internship in the middle of the pandemic, and he's still doing an amazing, incredible job before he goes and continues education at Yale in September. So Alex, over to you. How's your experience been? And you know, how are you liking working with us?
Thank you, Apurv. But I was wondering where Alex is.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, I have been able to experience serendipity, your experience by being in Europe, because at the moment I'm back in Spain. But it's been fantastic being part of the Virtual Voices series, being learned from so many professionals at the top of the field in so many different topics has been fantastic. And I can keeping you and get to see you when I finally get to the US.
Well, that will be wonderful. I am so deeply grateful for what you're doing and for Fred being able to work with you to do what you're doing, because it's just great. I just love sending you little notes and immediately you do it. This instant response is just something that I always have great admiration for. So I'm very grateful. If there's any kind of recommendation that you need, you write your own recommendation, as everybody knows. You write your own recommendation, and then I sign it.
So much.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, thank you so much, Alex, and thank you, Dr. Durbak, for pointing that out. One thing that I noticed from the conversation is, as Dr. Durbak mentioned, is the fact that we have always been pushing interns to be able to interact with people at the UN, to learn how to have that, person-to-person interaction, because most of the students that come, I think, from Asia, I noticed that they're always shy interacting with people. And I think Fari must be testament to this, because during his time, a lot of them were asking me, how is Fari capable of like just interacting with everyone freely with no issues? I say one thing that we try to encourage them is the networking, and to be able to just go out there, feel free, relax, and ask questions, interact with people at the UN. That's how you learn more, not just being yourself and attend meetings, go back home without interacting with people that you meet every day. So it's a program that I know most of you guys have been exposed to, and I have also been learning from you guys very much. And it's great that we're all back here talking about our experiences.
We should do it again. And Fred, thank you, because Fred is basically working very hard in expanding our South Korean program right now, where we have the opportunity, because you know what's happening in Hong Kong. So we're hoping to continue it, and I definitely will check with Ambassador Swazo to see what we can do with that, and that will be just terrific. So Apurv, why don't you do what you usually do? Just carry on and close our session, and we'll schedule a new one.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I mean, by no means this hour is the end of us convening together. I think this should become a very regular feature of World Information Transfer. You know, we're a cohort in the world like none other, who have had all these exciting experiences and, you know, very expansive experiences at a young age, and are now in, you know, very crucial positions around the world in organizations and NGOs and in startups like Fari, and you know, are doing our bit to sort of, you know, continuously stay true to the values that we built during our time at World Information Transfer. So we will convene again. Thank you everyone for taking out the time and sharing your experiences. It's just so exciting and energizing to learn that everyone's had very similar yet very different experiences from the internship, and how it's all shaped us into such well-rounded individuals. So everyone really inspires me, and I'm so happy to be part of this group.
Thank you, Apurv. Thank you for starting this, for getting us on, and we're moving on. This is already the third month, which is terrific.
Correct.
Thanks, Apurv. Great to see you, Modo, Ariel, everyone.
Good to see you all. Good to see you, Janice.
Yeah. Thanks so much,
and
guys.
everyone else.
Bye-bye.
Ariel. Thank you.
Oh,
Hi,
Janice.
Janice,
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's so good to see you.
Next time you'll be presenting Janice.
Yeah,
I
next
would
time,
love
Janice, the
to. I've done
spotlight will
some
be on
crazy
you.
things since.
Okay,
Yes.
that's
Oh,
fine.
brilliant.
Okay.
Well, we have to make
Excellent.
sure that you're have a little more time next time.
Absolutely. Actually, Dr. Durbak, I was at Rutgers and now I'm at Brown. So it's interesting. I think Evelyn was at Brown too.
Yes,
Evelyn, yeah, she's
she
going
also
to
had
Brown.
an internship.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm in
Oh,
Brown.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, you should get
Awesome.
together and talk.
Okay, awesome. I'll shoot you an email if that's okay.
That would be
Perfect.
great.
All right. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.